Lonely Monk Productions. I don't know if y'all have heard J.D. McPherson's Christmas album Socks yet, but yo!
That's my Jawn! Hey yo, displace the guilt and...
What's good, friends and family, neighbors near and far? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast. The podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I'm your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. Jawn We Now Are Gay Apparel, a.k.a. Nate 3.0. Back at it again with yet another episode of the podcast. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. On today's episode, I am joined by Charlie Hall, who you may know as the drummer for the band The War on Drugs. He's here to talk about the phenomenal Philly Special Christmas album that he arranged and produced, and that conversation is coming up in a minute. But first, guys, happy holidays! I hope this season has been a kind one to you, and I hope you enjoyed that last episode we just did with James and DX Ferris, with us talking about Christmas music. I had such a great time kicking it with my homies. And in case you missed it, we uploaded 2 playlists of Christmas music to coincide with that episode. One for all of the favorites that we listed, and a second playlist of every other song that we mentioned during the podcast. It's a Christmas delight, and you can find both of those playlists in that episode post on the website at www.yothat'smyjawn.com. But speaking of Christmas playlists, to accompany this episode, I am dropping a brand new playlist of Christmas music by former guests of our show. Featuring G Love, Nicole Atkins, Pawn Shop Roses, Clover, Pearl Charles, Wallace, Leah Menaker, Jason Ager, The Tisberries, Don McCluskey, and now The Silver Ages. And guys, that Tisberries track is actually a 2-for-1 in the guest department, as it was co-written by Ben Arnold. It's a whole lot of awesome to soundtrack your holiday season. You can find a link to it in the show notes and on all of the socials. You're following the socials, right? I don't have to tell you to follow at Yo That's My Jawn on all the social media accounts, do I? Because you're already following at Yo That's My Jawn. Of course you are. And you're signed up on the mailing list, right? No need to tell you to go to www.yothat'smyjawn.com and sign up on the email list, because guys, you've done that already, I'm sure. Look, I love Christmas music, and I got some more for you to check out. So here's a few tracks that have hit my ears that I know you will love. First, Brian Lambert, who is the other half of the Star Crumbles with my pal and former guest Mark Schuster. He released a beautiful track this month called All I Want for Christmas is a Brand New Start. Check that out. Sadie Dupuis put on her Sad 13 hat and takes down year-end lists and streaming wrap-ups in the glorious track Wrapped. It fucking rocks. And Philly Snap Infraction has this fantastic cover of the Beach Boys holiday classic Little Saint Nick. And all of those songs would make a perfect addition to your Christmas playlist. So links for all of those will also be included in the show notes. All right, time for a short break. But when we come back, my interview with Charlie Hall. Yo, That's My Jawn is brought to you by Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Take a seat. Let me explain. It's free. It costs nothing. $0 and 0 cents. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Me? I'm doing this from my iPad. It's that simple. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more podcast providers. What's that mean? That means when someone says, hey, how do I find your podcast? You go, you ever hear of a little app called Spotify? Boom, it's there. What's that in your hand, an iPhone? Boom, go to your podcast app. I'm there. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Right from the beginning, straight out the gate, you can make money. Season 1 made me so much money, I could afford a cup of coffee at Starbucks. A grande. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm. This coming Friday, December 23rd at 8 p.m., join me on Facebook.com/Yo That's My Jawn for the 3rd annual ukulele sing-along. 'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas 3. It's me, a ukulele, and a spirited holiday sing-along. Will I take requests? Sure, if I know them. Will I be in my basement talking to a handful of people on the internet while I sing some Christmas favorites? You bet. So join me, 8 p.m., on Facebook. All the cool kids are doing it, even all the cool reindeer. But, not the cool snowmen and snow ladies. They're kind of still holding a grudge. Well, how was I supposed to know that snow people melt if they drink hot cocoa? Right. Friday, December 23rd, 8 p.m., Facebook.com/Yo That's My Jawn. 'Twas the Jawn Before Christmas 3. Christmas. My guest today is a drummer, singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist who is best known for his role in the Grammy Award-winning band The War on Drugs. He has played with such acts as Windsor for the Derby, Tommy Guerrero, Jens Leckman, and is the founder of the Silver Ages, a close harmony vocal group composed of Philly indie rock musicians. Most recently, he has put on his producer hat and alongside Connor Barwin has produced the instant classic Philly Special Christmas, a 7-song Christmas album performed by Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, and Lane Johnson of the Philadelphia Eagles. The album features appearances by Philly legends such as the Hooters, Marshall Allen, Lady Alma, and more, and it has sold out 3 vinyl pressings on pre-sales alone. The album is set to be released on streaming services on December 23rd, with proceeds going to the Children's Crisis Treatment Center of Philadelphia and other area charities. Folks, it is my honor to welcome to the show Charlie Hall. Let me intro. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined today by the great Charlie Hall. Charlie, thank you for joining me on Yo That's My Jawn.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to dig into just your past and this Christmas project and all. But first, I got to ask. Doing my research, I come across some really crazy things, and God. I saw that there's this other Charlie Hall who's like a worship music singer or something like that.
Yes, there is.
Have you guys ever collaborated?
It's funny. We haven't, but our orbits finally nearly collided when there's this electronics company that I work with, and they're called Walrus Audio, and they also have a relationship with him, and so it's like, one time when I called my guy to talk about reverbs or something, he had just been on the phone with Charlie Hall, and it's like this whole thing. So now I'm the other Charlie Hall.
That's great.
And and I'm also, it's like a whole thing. I'm about to release a solo record for the first time, and I was sort of like, should I reach out to this guy to make sure that it's cool that I use my name? And then I'm like, what? That's crazy. Of course it's okay if I use my name, I think he's not putting music out as much anymore, so whatever. But yeah, there is definitely I remember one of my professors from college one time called me after I graduated. He's like, hey, I saw that, I saw a flyer for the Amazing Charlie Hall Band. I was like, I would never call my band the Amazing Charlie Hall Band. Just, I think we both know that. But,
it's awesome.
Anyway, we've been coming close, but never have we intersected. And I'm pretty sure we won't.
Pretty sure, yeah. There's another Nate Runkle, and he's a bass player for a band called Randy Burke and the Prisoners. And I've always wanted, like, we're Facebook friends. He sent me a friend request, and what am I going to deny myself? But I always wanted to like lay something down and have him play bass on it, and just like make it look like I played.
You guys
everything.
have communicated?
No, we're literally just Facebook friends. That's it. Like, it was just like an ad, and like, yeah, it's interesting. But every once in a while, I'll get tagged in one of his performances, and I hope that sometimes he gets tagged in like mine or the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder how this is all going to play out. Like, I sort of try to stay as removed from the internet as I can. So, you know, like in terms of like social media and stuff and tagging and all that, like I'm not sure exactly what I'm setting myself up for by, you know, being out there with an evangelical dude. Also, there's another Charlie Hall, Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Brad Hall's son.
Oh, no kidding.
Is a basketball player. Was a basketball player at Northwestern, and now he's like sort of gotten into the biz.
That's wild.
So that's another Charlie Hall that's floating around.
It's a super group. You could put a super group together. I think
Charlie Halls.
Yeah. So I think the only thing you might actually bump into is Spotify's usually pretty good at splitting artists correctly, but I noticed that Tidal is terrible with it. So keep an eye on that when you do these.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use Tidal?
I do. During the great Spotify dust up of 2022, I made the switch finally.
You made a migration?
Yeah. I like it a lot because I also DJ, and Serato has a functionality that will allow you to spin off of Tidal. So
that's cool.
I'm never caught out there with a "Do you have?" No, I don't. You know.
That's cool. Is there a noticeable audio quality difference, or is that like, do you need like a $500,000 sound system to? I
think you need a sound system. Plus, I have the basic plan. They have like a hi-fi plan, which I didn't dig into just because I'm
does higher res files.
Yeah. So I haven't gotten into it yet, but it's definitely it's something down the line that I want to check out. But I can notice the difference when I DJ when one of their tracks comes through, because it's a lot clearer than some of the MP3 and wave rips that I have of other songs and stuff like that. Right.
Is there a record that you just always keep in your bag no matter what?
My own stuff, but I mean that's just like that's just the ego that forces me to, you know. But tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in mostly in Connecticut. Born in Providence, Rhode Island. Grew up in Connecticut, sort of suburbs of New York City type of thing. You know, went to college in Virginia. And then my wife and I moved to San Francisco, like right after graduation. And then was there until I came to Philly in 2003. It's been almost 20 years in Philly, so I feel like at some point, I don't know what it takes, but I'm hoping to be like, you know, granted Philadelphia citizenship.
Oh, I think you've definitely
full Philadelphia. Whatever.
Yeah, I definitely think you've earned it by this point. 20 years, you were here in the growth of everything that I think is really finally coming to fruition with this great city of ours. Definitely, and you've played a part in it as well. So yeah, 100% are you a Philadelphian? You wear that badge. When you were growing up, like what kind of music was playing around the house?
Well, I guess, you know, I had an older brother and sister, and so it was, you know, kind of whatever was maybe like 9 years ahead of what I might have been listening to at the time. So like when I was 3 and 4, my brother was like into that like 70s middle school boy stuff, you know, like Kiss and classic rock. So I got really into like Kiss when I was really young, you know, and that was like a thing. You know, the Who, the Stones. Sergeant Pepper's, I remember being one of my earliest probably musical memories would be like Sergeant Pepper's and maybe like James Taylor's Greatest Hits, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, all my brother's stuff, you know, Rolling Stones, Hot Rocks, and The Who, Who's Next, all the Kiss stuff, Kiss solo albums, you know, whatever. But then that turned into like, you know, then he got really into sort of like WLIR kind of new wave stuff. Like he was really into Pretenders and Talking Heads and REM. And so I kind of followed along there. And then when my brother went away to college, I was in like fourth grade, and then I kind of got into my own, like U2 became my own band, you know, like that was like my first deep obsession that was my own, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like Pink Floyd, and then it was the Dead, and those were my bands.
Yeah.
You know?
What was it about U2 that grabbed you?
You know, I think it's like still the same thing that I love now. I wouldn't, I mean, I think at the time, you know, it was like, so at the time, you know, War was out, and you, on MTV you would see like footage from the Red Rocks. You know, they'd always play Sunday Bloody Sunday from Red Rocks, and you know, it's just like, I don't know, it's like something hard to explain. And then like I think for me it was like, then when Unforgettable Fire came out, it was just like so ethereal, and like it was still that like huge anthemic U2 thing, but it was also sounded so like from another planet kind of, you know, which in hindsight, you know, was like the Eno Lanois influence on what was already there, you know, with Edge and his delay stuff, and just, you know, sort of like really sparse, but really just kind of cool. And so that was kind of like, I don't know, it still is. I still love the band, you know, and I don't know, sort of like in a way, like was sort of a natural like shift into like really getting into Pink Floyd too. So I sort of love that band for some of the same reasons, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously like very different music and different band, but I think that I was attracted to like the sort of very dreamlike kind of cinematic element.
Yeah, that sonic palette. There definitely is like some kind of like cousin, like they're kind of cousins of each other. You know, not directly related, but they're definitely in the same blood. Right.
Yeah, and like rhythmically very different, but I mean different in so many ways. But yeah, so yeah, that was kind of I guess that was like that was both my geographic path and my musical path, I guess. And then, you know, so that like led, you know, to the Dead, and that led to like getting into Miles Davis and stuff like that, and then like into like ECM records, and which again I think is totally related. I think it's I like was attracted to the same thing about the whole ECM universe, you know, which is like that kind of I don't know if you would call it Norwegian or German or whatever, that European kind of like recording sensibility, and this sort of music that was like slightly uncategorizable. I guess you call it jazz, but not really.
Yeah, definitely. So when did any of this inspire you to make music or play music? Did you take any like lessons or stuff in school or?
I mean, I started playing music right away when I was like 3 or 4. You know, my grandmother bought me one of those Muppet Show drum sets, you know, and like it was like a real drum set, kind of like a small real, you know, like a little tin drum set with like paper with like little rims, but you know, they were real drums. I it's like one of my biggest regrets is I got rid of that. You know, I got like a real drum set when I was in kindergarten or first grade. I got my first set of Ludwigs, and so my Muppet Show drums went the way of the dodo. I mean, I know exactly where they went, but you know, it would be hard to go back and do forensics on trying to find this little toy drum set in some landfill in Wilton, Connecticut somewhere. But so I played drums all throughout my life. But then there was a piano in the house and nobody played it, so I started monkeying around on that, and I found a guitar under my brother's bed, which he didn't play. So I was like, well, I'll just learn how to play that. And I don't know, there were instruments around, but nobody was like pushing them on me, and unfortunately in a way, because I wish I had been forced to take lessons. My mom signed me up for piano lessons with like the church organist when I was like 10, and I had snuck off and bought this like Doors songbook at a garage sale and like brought it in on my first lesson. I was like, I want to learn this. He was like, whoa. Like, you got to learn to walk first. I was like, well, yeah, I really just want to play, the Doors.
Yeah.
So
you trying to jump right into Ray Manzarek's left hand. Sure.
Yeah. He was like, let's start with When the Saints Go Marching In. I was like, this is boring.
Yeah.
But taught myself chords and certainly took a lot of music classes. I studied music in college. It's not like I didn't take, lessons in some form, but I never have been like an instrument. I never was like an instrumentalist, like studying hardcore, taking lessons. I studied music, like music theory and music history and arranging and stuff like that, conducting.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I taught myself how to play guitar. I used to work for a small music shop in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, called Stewart's Music, which was like my birthplace, essentially. But
that was your local, like when you're like growing up, that's where you went to?
Yeah.
And then you got a job there?
Well, so he would give guitar lessons in the back, and I worked the front of house. And while he was teaching people, Mary Had a Little Lamb in the back, I was teaching myself how to play Over the Hills and Far Away out front. So
yeah, you were.
It's kind of this. It's the same thing, like I just tried to bypass all of it, and I guess it worked out. I mean, I'm not a great guitar player, but I still play, I still write, I still get out there. So it worked.
Over the Hills and Far Away is one of the milestones. You know what I mean? That's like step 3 in your guitar.
Exactly. And the reason that song specifically is, I still remember the story. I don't know if I ever told it on this podcast or not, but this guy and this girl came in, and it was when I was like very early in my learning how to play guitar, and anybody who could play guitar was like a hero to me. And this guy asked to see the 12 string that we kept behind the register, and I handed it to him, and he started playing Over the Hills and Far Away, and I was just like dumbfounded that a human could do it, like in front of me. And his girlfriend was like, you sounded a little rusty, and I was like ready to fight for him, like, no, you get out of here right now. Wow. He's a genius. But so that's why I became obsessed with that song. But
well, I was obsessed with that song too. I think it probably was a gross oversight to not mention Led Zeppelin when going through my sort of steps of important musical history.
Yeah, 100%. So when you were like playing around and stuff, were you playing with other people like in high school? Like, did you have high school?
Yeah. I mean, it's starting in like, I went to a school that was like kindergarten through 12. And so in a way that was kind of cool because it allowed the opportunity to kind of like connect with people that where maybe there's more of an age gap. And so like, for example, like, being like playing drums in 5th grade, like while there weren't that many kids in my grade that played instruments, there were like kids at the high school that were playing. And so I was like in bands with, high schoolers and stuff like that. And so every year there would be a variety show. And that was kind of like really like framed my years, like year after year, just like, what band am I going to put together? What songs are we going to play? Like who's going to be in the band? I think I've always loved putting projects together because I never really thought about this until now, but just because like my whole life was kind of like revolved around, all right, like what band am I going to assemble this year to play at the Battle of the Bands, And it was just so much fun. Then you spend the whole fall and spring like learning your 5 tunes or whatever, and then you go and you play and it's great, and then whatever. Next year maybe it's the same band, maybe it's a new band, and whatever. So I think I've always just loved that adventure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's one of those crazy things of like it's hard to explain to people who don't make music, but like playing in a band just feels good, doesn't it? Like just like kind of getting on the same page and communicating sonically to me is like one of the most amazing things, especially when it clicks. Like that moment when it clicks for the first time, when you like everybody's nailing their stuff and you're like looking around and you're just so totally in tune. Like that's one of my favorite things. Like,
yeah, you're communicating with each other and you're communicating with the audience. It's beautiful. That's like what it's all about.
Yeah. So, when you went to college, where did you say you went to college? Sorry.
William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Okay. Did you have like did you start to put together like a college band then? I was in college bands, kind of like, that was like a little more like playing original music, I guess, for the first time, like more so than, but then, it was also, of course, like jamming on tunes, but yeah, it got a little, those bands were like a little more kind of like, I don't know, you meet kids that are like in the jazz program or whatever, so you're like playing these bands that are like really noodly, or it was like a different kind of thing. And then I was also, I got really into like choral music in college too, so I got really into kind of like singing and choirs and writing vocal arrangements and things like that. So yeah, then I was, and also playing. Yeah, also got into like playing straight ahead jazz too. Oh, okay.
I sort of started really like. Didn't really have that. I guess in high school we started there wasn't a jazz band at my high school, but we started one, which was cool. It was like just one of those environments where you were just encouraged to like, if it doesn't exist, like make it, and so did that. But then, then when I got to college, I sort of connected with people that were, way better than me, and was learned and got better by, having to play.
Yeah. Were you in school for music?
Yeah, music and psychology.
Okay. Very interesting. Do you use any of that?
Prepares you for being. Yeah, I think it prepares you for being in a rock band pretty well, actually.
Really? Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. The second you said that, like, yeah, that totally. That actually, probably every band should have at least one. So you are very, very versatile in your sensibilities and stuff like that. But it all kind of, to me, like there seems to be this kind of sonic palette through line. Even with the vocal arranging and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What do you see out there right now that's kind of grabbing you in that kind of place? Like, what is there any kind of artists or acts out there right now that are like just completely fulfilling that thirst?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's so much music out there right now. I know this sounds like a dumb thing to say, but it's like, there's so much music. And I don't like, I try to be adventurous and like listen, I'll go through phases where I'm voraciously, exploring new things, but I feel like I have a lifetime of like, collected a lifetime of records on tour and throughout my life that it will take me the rest of my life to fully digest all of this stuff. But yeah, I think that, like, to answer your question, I think there's a lot, I'm excited by all kinds of things. I find myself at home listening to instrumental music.
Yeah.
Mostly. I don't know why that is. but over the past 10 years or so, that's kind of like led me into a little bit more of a, listening to music, like not discrete music, but music that maybe that you can like sort of participate in or have on, like music that serves like different purposes, like I guess, I like things that are beautiful. I mean, that sounds sort of stupid to say, but I guess maybe we all do. Although no, I don't think we all do. I mean, I just, I don't like to be like pummeled, when I'm like listening to music at home. And maybe that's because like, for my job, I'm playing like, it's like exerting my, putting out a lot, it's like a sort of loud rock band, like do day in and day out. It's like when I come home, I'm like, I think I'd like to listen to some Indian classical music right now. It's, or I'd like to listen to something that takes me away to like a place that I'm, again, it goes back to the Unforgettable Fire or, like the Eno ambient records, or it's just like, I'd like to go to a place that's like feels cool and peaceful and different and, that I can think, or not.
Yeah, I just went and saw the at the Ardmore the Wilco Side Project show.
Oh my God! I was just gonna say, I just saw Yuka Honda do that set.
Wasn't it incredible?
It was incredible. It was like really so moving.
Yes,
she's playing that thing that looked like a light bright. It was like. Like, what is that? I went down a wormhole, of course, afterwards and found out it's like some Yamaha controller from like the mid 2000s or something. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a step sequencer kind of thing. And it was so beautiful. And then then she sat in with Nels, and they did that thing that got into that sort of Indian mode.
Yes,
dude.
I was right up against the stage, and I have a full video of the two of them doing that song together. I want to put it up on YouTube because, like, it was absolutely stellar. Like, I was blown away. Like, I was just sitting there in awe, like, just of the soundscape that two people created.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I mean, I was going to mention it as like, oh, that sounds, whatever. That was amazing. Now it's like, what is 2022? Like I'm as of like Sunday, I'm in like my Cibo Motto phase. I'm like deep in it.
Yeah.
I only was like a casual observer of their, I just kind of knew of them and heard a little bit. Like there was this one song I used to always buy those KCRW compilations every year. It was like Morning Becomes Eclectic. Mm-hmm. Rare on Air, whatever, like one of those radio station comps. They were always great, but they did. I guess Sugar Water was on one of those, and I used to love that live in studio version of that. But now I'm like, I had no idea that like Chad Blake and Mitchell Froon worked on that first record. I'm just like, I'm deep in the hole.
You jumped in, you followed that rabbit. Oh, I love it. No, I'm so glad. That's so awesome that you were there. Yeah, that was just an amazing night. Like what a great bunch of sets.
Autumn Defense sounded incredible. The whole thing.
Yeah, and like it was my favorite kind of show because it wasn't too packed. So like I didn't feel squashed. Like I wasn't worried about other people around me. Like I was just totally into the music. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on a show recently that was so packed. It's like, I'm not sure how everyone can enjoy this. There's just like, so, it was at the Electric Factory. It was like, it sounded great. But it's like when, if something's sold out, it's like, man, it's tight.
Yeah. It's weird. I've never really been into being squished, but post pandemic,
Join the club.
Post pandemic, now it's like I don't have the patience for this. Like I will walk away if I have to. Like I can't enjoy. So you guys, you kind of got approached to work on this Philly special Christmas album, which I've got a copy of, and it absolutely swings, man. It is so good.
Thank you. What a cool compliment.
But how did you get involved with this? This is like an amazing project.
Yeah, it really was. It just was like a supernatural thing, like from beginning to end. Like, I had a relationship with Connor and Jason going back to like when the War on Drugs played at one of Connor's Make the World Better benefits years back at the Dell. And we just became friends. And when he and Kelsey were like, we want to make a Christmas record, I was like, cool, like let's do it. It's like, Connor's very much like I think Kelsey was kind of like casually like, oh, we should make a Christmas record sometime. I think he wanted to just do something special for Philly, do something fun, something to honor. Like he has this connection with these teammates, they just like, in addition to having this bond of, playing pro ball together, they also like truly just love each other, and they are like connected through, they all sing and are super into music, and they're, so he had this like crazy idea, Connor's just like, let's just do it. He called me and he was like, how do we do this? I was like, let's get together and figure it out, like let's talk about tunes, like let's pick like songs that resonate with everyone for one reason or another, or I introduced some songs for them too, and so it's just like it started just like sitting around the fire, like passing the guitar around, and those guys just like singing, and I was just like, oh man, this is going to be great. And so then once you just kind of hone in on, so for our process, it was kind of like, all right, well, let's hone in on like 6 tunes that each resonate with somebody in some way, and that are soulful, and that just make sure this thing's coming from a place of authenticity and not from like a goof, not from like some place of whatever. It was just coming from a very sincere place. So then it was just kind of it's just all about, it's like relationships, like this thing started because of relationships between them. And then I got into it because of our relationship. And then I just reached out to musicians that I admire all around Philly from like different generations and different, musical backgrounds and cultural backgrounds, and just like, let's just make this awesome. Let's just have this be like a little taste of like what's so cool about Philadelphia. I mean, not to say that this couldn't happen somewhere else, but I also feel like at the same time, it's like, I don't know, could it?
Yeah,
it's a pretty Philadelphian, it's a pretty special thing, when you have like a community that's just like all bound together by, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Something. And, it's cool.
Yeah. And like, Kelsey, I feel like, is someone who kind of exemplifies like Philadelphia, even though, like not like he, but
100%.
And like, and I'm not going to lie, when the album was sent to me, I was like, oh, this will be fun. This will be a thing, and then I listened to it and I was like, oh no,
I hope it's fun. No, it should be fun.
Well, it is fun, but it's beyond that. Like it is a good Christmas album. Like we just did an episode breaking down our favorite Christmas songs and stuff like that. And like, I would put Santa Claus is Coming to Town on my list of like things that'll go on mixtapes for the rest of my life. Like that,
that's your favorite?
Oh my God, you guys nailed it. Like you guys nailed it. It's so good. But I mean, honestly, like Silent Night is so beautiful and hilarious, but like it works. But I mean, like it's just from start to finish. Like I love it, and like I've been telling people, these people are going to get blown away when they hear Meryl Reese recite The Night Before Christmas. Like it's just, oh yeah, what an album!
So great,
what an album,
so cool. I mean, for me, it was like Christmas Eve was all about like I'd sleep in my brother's room, and he'd read me The Night Before Christmas. And like, I think that the reason why I was really sleeping in my brother's room, because he was basically like keeping me from like running downstairs like too early in the morning. He was like he was the gatekeeper. But yeah, I just like have such fond memories of that on Christmas Eve, and like he'd read me that book. Yeah, it's so nice to have Meryl to read it to me now.
That's great. That's so great. When did you guys start working on it?
In the summer.
In the summer?
We did it all in the summer. Yeah, it was done before those guys got cooking with the season. I mean, we put some finishing touches and stuff on it in September and stuff like that. But we and then the fact that it got turned around and turned into a physical product is a true Christmas miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. And like
it's like 10 to 12 months. Usually it's nowadays it's like a year backup at pressing plans to get anything done. But we through the magic of just relationships and goodwill and whatever, it was like this opportunity presented itself, and what do you know, people can have this thing under the tree.
Yeah, and this is going to come out on Monday, but Friday you're going through the third batch of pre-sales on it, which is just absolutely incredible. What is there any plans on performing any of this live or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think I think it's going to exist like this.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It works. I didn't know if
these guys are busy enough on the these guys are busy enough on the field,
Yeah, a little bit. Little bit.
They got their own performing to do.
No, I just didn't know like a morning show, or if I don't know if they wanted to sing on a podcast or something. I don't
Yeah. Just for example, singing on a podcast. Just throwing it out there.
Just put it out there. But you've got absolute Philly legends on this album. Is there anyone you reached out to who didn't? Because it looks like I'm going to guess that everybody was like totally on board with this, right?
Yeah, people were just like, yeah, of course, sounds like fun. I think same thing. I think once people understood that this was like a serious thing, but like a playful and loving, but like that it was like that it wasn't like some kind of like a goof. Yeah, everybody's just like, yeah, of course, and it was awesome, like going up to the Sun Ra house and recording Marshall Allen. It was like it's a thrill of a lifetime for me, and for everyone, like having Marshall involved, like was really. It was cool. It was like as meaningful to the guys as it was. I thought at first I was like, well, maybe I wonder, how if everyone's gonna like really like fully get how special it is to have this, this part of our history represented. And Connor was like, oh my God, I can't believe he was like such a fan. I mean, they're all such music fans, so that everybody just totally was so grateful for everyone's involvement. You know what I mean? Like all the players and getting the Hooters guys involved and like their spirit and energy. And we recorded it at their studio a bunch. And Lady Alma, who's incredible. She was on the song that came out last week, Merry Christmas Baby, with Jordan Malata. And some great horn players, Nasir Dickerson, and it's just really was really cool just having it all come together and have everyone just be game for it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like that was like one of the big lessons was just like, sometimes it's cool to just like to say yes, be game for something. If it feels cool, it's like that's sort of like one of the lessons for me. It's like. I got to remember to like just try to just be open to things, when sometimes it's just so easy to like say no, or, you know, like, I'm tired, or, you know, we're all tired.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just go for it. You know, just like Connor, just being like, yeah, we're going to make a Christmas record. Like, cool. All right. Let's do it.
Yeah, it is a like not just a beautiful Christmas album, but it's a beautiful to me a beautiful love letter to Philadelphia. Like it is just like if you want like a snapshot of just everything that's great about this town, like I would just hand them that album and be like, take a look at this, man. How can you deny this? You know,
so awesome. That's so nice to hear. To hear you say it like that, because that's, I mean, mission accomplished. You know, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
like that's it.
I will say one thing.
And
I was reading the liner notes, and I saw you guys gave special thanks to Bruce Warren. Doesn't that guy get thanked enough? Don't we thank that guy enough? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just busting.
Not enough.
I like to
possibly thank Bruce enough.
I like to bust his balls. But
talk about the spirit of community and togetherness.
Yeah, you guys have a great relationship with XPN. How did that come about? Just were they fans, or did you kind of approach them?
I mean, yeah, Bruce has been a champion of the war on drugs, you know, forever, and it's just so cool that to like see somebody in his position that's just like underneath it all, like a music fan.
Yeah.
You know, like, and he's the godfather of AAA radio. I mean, you ask anybody around the country who is involved in AAA radio or whatever, it's like Bruce is the guy. Well, he's the Jason Kelsey of AAA radio. You know, he's just like, he's the heart and soul of it all. And Bruce is a legend, man. Yeah,
back in the day, he used to have he used to run his Some Velvet blog, and that is where I got probably 98% of the live cuts and rare B-sides that like I've wowed people with for, you know, in sets for my entire life. Like, where did you find this? Oh, you know, you just find it places. No, it was Bruce found them.
I miss blogs, man.
Wasn't that a special time, like, to be able to find the coolest shit?
Best.
It was
Gary Higgins, Red Hash, cool. I'll, you know, like whatever. Just like somebody rips some record that's, you know, that 50 people have heard, and then all of a sudden everybody can, or anybody that, you know, wants to can check it out and learn a little bit about some freak in a barn somewhere that made a record and somebody found a box of them. You know, it's just, I miss that.
I miss it too. I tried to bring. I did. That was how this podcast started. I tried doing a blog website, and I was like, oh, people don't do that anymore. Oh, okay. So I gotta.
I'm waiting. That's why I'm basically off the grid. I'm just waiting for blogs to come back. I'm going to start a blog spot or something.
I love it. Do it. So you were talking about solo record. You know, what's kind of the genesis of that? Just stuff you've compiled, or
it was. I mean, it was something that I was put up to by an old friend and musical compadre, and we've been playing music together for 25 years, and he was just like, hey, like, I want to hear what your music sounds like, you know. And I was like, never really thought about that, because I love, you know, like I love helping other people like bring their music to life, and doing my little, you know, bits and bobs that I like to do to make things pretty and arrange things, and, you know, do my things that I like to do. But I've never like really even had the impulse to kind of start something from scratch. Maybe partially because of like the hang up with, you know, the lyric hang up or something, because I'm not like a word guy. But then I was like, well, I don't have to sing. Like, there doesn't have to be words. I don't listen to music with, you know, most of the music I listen to is instrumental anyway. Why would I make something with my voice on it? Like the last thing in the world I would ever want to hear, and probably anybody would want to hear. You know, it's like, you know, that's like so often there'll be something that's so sweet, but it's, you know, there's this like kind of roadblock right up front. It's like, oh, I just don't love the timbre of that person's voice, you know, or I'm not buying it. So, anyway, I'm rambling now.
it makes sense.
He was like, just come up to the studio. I don't care what happens. I don't care if this is like a you and me thing or just a me thing or a you, whatever. And so I went up there kind of like a little sheepish because I didn't have tunes yet, but I had 30 years of like tunings that I was really into, like open, guitar tunings that I was really into, or like fragments of, chord progressions and little melodies that I've, been monkeying with forever. So then I just started building it up, and then I was like, oh, that's again, going back to what we were talking about before about just being open to like doing something, trying something. It was like I did that, and I was like, "Oh, that's how you write a song. You just kind of try,
yeah.
You just start doing it, and then maybe it sucks, but you demystify it, and you're just like, okay, that's you do this. You find a vibe. It's like for me, it was like he had this drum machine, this old Roland drum machine that I really loved the sound of, and so everything kind of like I would just kind of like dial in a thing on this drum machine, and then sort of just get into like whether it was like on the Wurlitzer or like on my guitar, wherever things started. You just kind of like start building up a thing, and then you get to the fun stuff, which is what I love, which is just kind of like putting the salt and pepper in there and making it all. And then the truly special part was after this very solitary exercise of a few months, you kind of like tell a trusted friend what you're up to, and they're like, oh, can I hear that? And then they're like, oh, can I do this on it? I'm like, yeah, I'd be honored. And then your song comes back with like, this beautiful pedal steel or something, and the song all of a sudden sounds like something I never even dreamed of. And it's like, oh, that's what's cool about music is collaborating. And, when ideas come together, not just like this, I was, really grateful for this very inward solitary experience. But then it was like, oh yeah, then it became like, just sort of like almost like a document of a life of friendships and it's like, oh, I'll send this to this friend and they can put their spirit on it in whatever form that takes, whether it's like Dave Hartley putting a fretless bass line on this thing, or Daniel Clark putting his B3 on this, or whatever it was. It's just like, oh, now I have this like really special kind of journal of friendships, and I have these songs to show for.
That's absolutely beautiful. What is there like a target date for release, or are you still kind of?
Yeah, I think it's going to come out in April.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just finalizing all those details now, but yeah, I think it looks like it's probably going to come out on my birthday, which is kind of cool. Dude,
even better. That's like a gift to yourself. I love it.
Sure. I'll make one copy.
Yeah. Well, it worked for the Wu-Tang, right? One. It worked for the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah. Sell it to that pharma freak. What's he doing now? Is he still in the Clankers? Yeah.
I think he came out, and I seem to remember like somebody was dating him or something. I don't know. I wish all those people would just go away, to be honest. Like maybe
he'll shack up with Elon Musk.
With Elon, they'd be
a sweet couple.
Yeah, single bros together. Ugh, it's the worst. We are in the worst timeline, but we do have beautiful things like music. So I guess we can't. Yeah. I can't complain too much. And then, what War on Drugs working on anything new or?
Well, we're playing these shows in Philly in December for our sort of annual Drugcember, which is a fundraiser also. It's cool to have these two things happening right now that are both benefiting Philadelphia, the youth of Philadelphia directly, because we've done this Drug December thing. We didn't do it during the pandemic, so it's been a couple years. But yeah, this annual thing where we play 3 shows at different venues and raise a bunch of money for the fund for the school district of Philadelphia through the shows, but also through like Julian's is hosting an auction for us, which is really cool. So there's going to be like all kinds of sweet music, gear and memorabilia and other stuff, and then we'll have raffles and stuff at the shows, and so that's gonna be super fun. Looking forward to that. And then next year, hopefully just continuing to get out there and play we played for a lot of people this year. We got around the world a few times and made it home safe, and so looking forward to doing that again and hopefully getting to bring it to everywhere, maybe even some new places, because there's, we haven't really done much like in terms of like South America and Asia, but we always go to Australia and lots of course, Europe and in the US and Mexico. So yeah, just looking forward to keeping at it and plugging away and hopefully making people happy.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. Like, yeah, I've completely blanked on the Johnny Brenda shows. That's right. That's coming up. That sold out in what, like 3 minutes or something like that? That was like,
something like that.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's not the biggest venue in the world.
Sure. But it's going for a great cause, though, man.
And going for a great cause,
and that's what matters.
It's going to be, I mean, it's just for a year where we played some milestone gigs, some bucket list spots, like Red Rocks and Madison Square Garden. It's kind of like cool to come home and finish the year at our I would say our spiritual home.
Yeah. Yeah,
Philadelphia and Brenda's, specifically is definitely like one of our spiritual homes.
It's such a great room. Like, I love that room.
Yeah,
for like,
me
it's
too.
just so perfect. It's like one of my goals in life. My fiance and I are talking about trying to. She has this dream of making a like a non-alcoholic bar that functions exactly like a bar. Just they serve
cool.
mocktails and NA drinks and stuff and some coffees and
That's
all.
That's a great idea.
And I want to make it. And we want to combine our loves, and we want to make it like also a venue. So like it's one of the But like if the dream is like something like if I could make something as big as Johnny Brenda's, that would be beautiful. Like it was. I'll take
something that has
room,
that.
But yeah,
that aura and that sort of community.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And that's the thing that makes it great. And that's what I feel like makes Philadelphia great is the community is just so into it. Like, it's the same thing with like, and that's why I think this Christmas album makes perfect sense to me is because like, it's the same way with the football team. Like, we're not just fans like of our music and of our teams. Like we're people who understand and appreciate what's good about it and are knowledgeable about it. And that community to me is one thing that this area has that I can't think of many other places that has anything similar to it,
Yeah, totally. And I mean, those guys are so tuned in to like, I mean, speaking of the players, it's like they're so tuned in to like the community and giving back and, that whole thing, which is like coming from a real sincere place, like they all have, Jason's got his own foundations, Connor's got foundations, like they're just doing good stuff, they're doing cool shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it's, not to say nothing of the community that they've built, on the team, from a sports perspective is kind of amazing too. Like the vibe. I don't want to jinx anything because I know it's like, 12-1, whatever. I don't want whatever happens in the future is great. But like the vibe on that team is incredible. And it's like, it's about leadership, but it's also about, you know what I mean? It's about like having leaders, but it's also about like those guys, like all like also mentoring each other and like looking after each other. And you can see it in how they are with each other. You know, they're competitive, obviously, but it's like they're like really look after each other, and it's cool.
It's awesome.
Like it's all kinds of layers to it.
I love it. All right, at this time, you want to go through these Jauntlet questions? This is how I end every episode.
We do. Yeah.
All right. It starts with the one-hit wonders. These are just you're just picking who your favorite of the two is. Number one, Billy Joel or Elton John?
I mean, no disrespect to the BJ, but Elton.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I get it. Number two, Debbie Harry or Joan Jett?
Oh, Debbie Harry.
Yeah.
No question. I mean, Joan Jett rocks, but, you know, Debbie Harry rules.
And still has it. We saw her at the Exponential Music Festival a few years back and just still sounds amazing.
I mean, Blondie was very, very formative for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Aretha Franklin or Tina Turner?
Trick question, isn't it? Aretha. But, yeah. I mean, how can you possibly choose?
It is. Tough.
You know. But I'm going first thought, best thought, right?
That's right.
I'm going Aretha. Those, I mean, that stretch of, well, I mean, they're both such legends, but yeah. I mean, Aretha figures pretty prominently in this house, you know. If you know, in terms of like number of hours listened to, Aretha's pretty up there.
I love it. Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
I mean, there's no question for me.
Yeah. Nirvana.
BJ.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's my guess. That's my pick.
No question. We got to play with them a few times this year, and getting to see a little bit behind the curtain, man. That's a cool operation.
That's awesome. I love it.
That's a killer crew.
Yeah.
Those songs are great.
They really are.
I know it's cooler. It would be cooler to say Nirvana, but not a question in my mind.
It's
how
fine.
to answer that question.
It's fine. It's you, me, and Kristen Curtis. We're all Pearl Jam people on this one.
Is that right?
Yeah. She was just on the episode.
We have our own little support group.
That's right.
Oh, you asked these questions. Oh, you asked the same questions of everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
My original plan back in the day was I was going to compile a spreadsheet and try to definitively answer these questions, but it's a lot of work, and I'm a little behind.
You can get an intern.
There we go. I'll do one of those virtual assistants. Janis Joplin or Stevie Nicks?
Stevie, come on.
Yeah.
Please. What kind of question is that?
The big one, Beatles or the Stones?
I mean, Beatles, you could answer. There's no wrong answer to that.
Right.
But, for me, it's like, yeah, Sgt. Pepper's is probably one of my first memories in life. I mean, Hot Rocks was huge, too. Don't get me wrong. And I love the Stones. And I mean, Charlie, the whole thing. Yeah, Stones are incredible. I love the Stones, but I would pick the Beatles probably every time.
Okay,
you asked me that question.
Yeah, it makes sense. I figured it when you mentioned Sgt. Pepper as a formative album early on, so I kind of saw that one coming.
I mean, but the Stones were equally as formative. It just like if I had to, I don't know.
Yeah,
it just seems like that's my answer.
Well,
I'm sticking to it.
Last one of the one-hit wonders: Bohemian Rhapsody or Stairway to Heaven?
Stairway. I mean, it's like I listen to it forwards, I listen to it backwards. I never listened to Bohemian Rhapsody backwards.
Now you make me want to, though.
Yeah. I mean, obviously both great, but Stairway is, that drum entrance, the first time you hear that, I mean, that's a moment in life.
That is a thing of beauty. And then the top 10 countdown, of course, Jawn is used in this to be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be music. It can be anything. Number one, What was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you were obsessed with when you were younger?
Jawn.
Yeah.
Okay. That's, I mean, it's either Star Wars or Kiss. And I think probably, if we're really getting into things chronologically, it's probably Kiss. You know what I mean? It's like probably Peter Criss, drums, smoke, flames, makeup, glitter, Les Pauls.
I will have to send you a photo of me at I think 2 years old with my Kiss guitar, tongue out, full Gene Simmons pose. Yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, yeah. It's pretty good.
Show it to me, please.
Number 2, what's your current Jawn? What are you into right now?
Current Jawn? Well, I just went to see Always.
Oh, wow. How was that?
It was fucking incredible.
Yeah.
That band is so great. And I am, I'm their biggest fan. I love that band.
Yeah.
So I can't stop listening to them, and that show was killer. And they're just the best people too, which helps.
That's dope. Number 3, what was your first concert? What was the first live show you went to see?
That would have been the Beach Boys at the Providence Civic Center in 1977, May 13th, I think.
Okay.
May 1977. So I was 3. Star Wars must have been out, because I remember these are some of my earliest memories, actually. I remember somebody calling me a Jawa because I was just walked right under the turnstile. And I remember we were sitting on the side, just up a little bit. And I was just watching Dennis Wilson, he was playing these clear acrylic drums, just like the ones I play. And they're just shaking, the stage was just shaking, and he was just playing sort of very over top and physical, I just remember being man, I think I was probably already into the drums then, but maybe that was probably the first time I ever really saw somebody shredding on a drum set. I mean, I was only 3 years old, for Christ's sake, so I'm sure that's the first time I saw somebody shredding on a drum set. But I was like, oh man, this is great. I think Brian was back in the band. Probably sounded terrible, but it was great.
It's awesome. I love that. Number 4, what was your last concert?
Well, more recently even than Always, I saw Bitchin' Bajas, which is sort of slightly, ill-named band, because it's nothing like I hadn't heard of them, but a friend of mine with probably the most esoteric music tastes was like, I have an extra, for Bitchin' Bajas at the Solar Myth. You want to come with me? I was like, no. What is that? He's from Florida, so I figured this was some kind of I don't know what. It's Bitchin' Bajas. And then I was I checked it out. I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's reminded me almost of Manuel Gotching, this kind of very sort of droney, pulsing, not all modular, but, pretty much synth based, and with some occasional, bass clarinet or guitar on top. It was really, really killer. It was at Solar Myth, the new
boot
what used to be the Boot and Saddle. Yeah, it was a perfect sound in the perfect space for it, and I was so moved. The whole show just blew my mind. It was so moved. So I'm kind of also, in addition to being in a Cibomato wormhole, I'm in a Bitchin' Bajas wormhole.
I got to check it out. It sounds like my bag. It sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still working my way through their recorded catalog. I can't, it's hard to, it might be one of those things to fully appreciate. You might maybe need to hear the air move in the room, when they're making it. But there's they have tons of recordings. They had a thing called Switched on Raw, them doing all Sun Ra stuff that I think came out last year. It's pretty really cool. And I would start with there's an album. One of the albums I got of theirs, I think it's a self-titled one. It's on Drag City. I think maybe it's from maybe 10 years ago or something. Check that out.
Okay. All right. Definitely will note that. Number 5, what's your favorite concert? What was the best show you've ever seen?
God, I should have an answer for that, right? Like, I should just know. Like, I shouldn't have to think about it. But, probably at least, like, in terms of, like, at the time when you're there and how you're feeling, probably would have been, like, one of the 2 Joshua Tree tour shows of U2, or maybe, I would say I saw them on the Unforgettable Fire tour once, and then they did like 2 legs of the Joshua Tree tour. It was like, one of those 2. I mean, it was just like kind of, they had just sort of grown into this, they were just dominating a sports arena, playing these great tunes, and it was just, I'd say Joshua Tree tour, 87.
I love it. Number 6, who have you never seen live that you wish you could have? They can be living or dead.
Ooh. Oh, wow. That's so fun. I mean, wow. So knee jerk would be, I'd probably like, I'd love to go back. I don't know what era exactly. Like, I'd love to go back and see the Cocteau Twins. I never saw them. Like, maybe like towards the end when the band was bigger on stage and they were sort of like fully playing those tunes that I love so much. But in a way, it would also kind of be cool to have seen them like kind of early on when it was just like the 3 of them. But yeah, probably a Cocteau Twins show, or like, going back to what we were talking about before. I mean, I would love to have seen like Ashra Temple or Manuel Gotching do like one of his, I'd love to be like a fly on the wall and watch him recording E2, E4, which was kind of like one, performance that he did kind of live, that he recorded. But, tempted to say Nick Drake, but that would probably be, that his music lives in that perfect spot on those records.
Right.
And I think that it probably would be, a lot of things you can go, it's just crazy now. Like part of me would say like one of those Miles Davis groups, like in the early 70s, but so much of that is so well documented. You can kind of like,
you can get it. Yeah.
But like there's like no footage of Nick Drake playing. Like, so I'm in a way kind of like, because I don't have any, we don't have access to anything like that. But I'll stick with my first thought. I'll say Cocteau Twins.
I like it. Mine has always been Prince, because my parents had a ticket for me. People listening to the podcast have heard the story 10 million times, and they're going to hear it 10 million and one. My parents bought a ticket for me for the Purple Rain tour to go with them, but then found out what the stage show was like and sold my ticket.
No way.
Yeah.
Was that at the Tower? Where did you grow up?
Here. It was at the Spectrum.
It's big. It was huge.
Yeah. But yeah. So,
man.
And then my other one is, and this is just finding out about it after the fact, way after the fact, because I didn't get into him until late. But finding out that Jeff Buckley played at the Grape Street Pub, or what is now the Grape Room, and I'm like, what would that have been like to just like see him on that tiny little stage?
Wow. Were you at the Trocadero show?
No, I wasn't.
I don't know what the timing difference was. I don't know. I never heard about that Grape Street thing, but it couldn't have been too far. They couldn't have been separated by too much. But yeah, a friend of mine told me about going to that. Well, he was opening for somebody. Who was it? Like when he came around on that first tour, like the Grace tour, he was opening for somebody. It was like, oh man, like Throwing Muses or somebody. I don't know. I've got that wrong. Right. It's not them, I don't think, but it's somebody like that.
Somebody like that, yeah.
And it was just, they were like, after the first night, they were like, holy shit, we have to do this we have to play after that? This whole tour?
I couldn't imagine, like, just the power in that man's voice. Like, I couldn't even imagine, like, could you imagine playing an open mic with him? Like
I mean, that's a good one. Even if my Buckley appreciation ebbs and flows personally. Like that would be, I like sometimes I'm just not in the mood for it, but sometimes, every few years I get back into, like, and I'll be like, oh man, this was really great. That would have been really cool to be in like, or even to have been in like Cafe Chenet, like,
yeah,
when he was just blasting through all those tunes just on a telly through a jazz chorus.
Yeah,
singing his ass off.
There's a crazy video on YouTube. I'll send you this link too, of G Love just sitting around playing guitar and harmonica at some festival, and Buckley walks up and they end up jamming together. And like,
no,
yeah, it's the weirdest thing in the world. And I asked,
get out of here.
I asked G about it. I was like, how the fuck did that happen? And he was like, I forget. I think it was like Jimmy Jazz's girlfriend at the time was a waitress at the Chenet. And so they knew each other kind of by proxy. But
that happened like locally. That wasn't at like, I figured that would be at like Rock Worked or something backstage.
Yeah, no,
it
was just
like
like
in New York or something. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It was just sitting somewhere like outside. I'll send you the link. It's so crazy. Like,
oh man, that's cool. Like, amazing. Somebody got that on film.
Yeah. Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn, something you wish more people were into.
Well, I don't often wish more people were into something that I love, because then it's like, wait, it's like, I sort of like with all of this, like, I shouldn't say it, but with all this like love for Joni Mitchell that's in the air, which I'm so grateful for, and but it's like, oh, well, that was mine,
yeah,
or something, it's like, it's like, oh, it's all sort of like wrapped up in Brandy Carlisle and stuff like that. You don't need to print that. What do I wish that was more appreciated? Well, I mean, I think the Cocteau Twins are not unappreciated, but I think, for how great I think they are, I think they're still pretty underappreciated. That's what comes to mind.
I love it. Number 8, what's your favorite album? I know that's a tough one, but
well, I mean, Joni Mitchell, Hejira probably is one of them.
Yeah,
at least, I've got another underappreciated one.
Okay,
that just came to my mind is, I would say, the Radio Department. They're from Sweden. And I wish that everybody knew about them.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
They're great. Yeah, the Radio Department, DEPT. They're amazing. But yeah, Hejira is definitely a desert island.
Yeah.
Disc. No question. Velvet Underground 3rd. Bitches Brew.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, definitely. Number 9, name an artist whose output you'll consume anything they release.
I would say Miles Davis, but I just am not there with all that 80s stuff, man.
Yeah.
I know it's like, some people are like, no, man, you just don't get it. I'm like, yeah, I don't get it because I just don't think there's anything to get. It sucks. But anything they do, an artist, it's probably Joni Mitchell. I mean, even though some dicey waters in there, I'll still, I'm still scratching away at like some of those kind of Geffen era, like Wild Things Run Fast kind of albums that are not quite as pleasing to me.
Yeah.
But I'll listen to anything and everything that she has anything to do with. Whether it's like, whether she sang backups on I've got this playlist going, like every time I read about something or hear something that she has any kind of like fingerprint on, I have this like master like Joni playlist.
Yeah, I haven't been able to do the whole thing yet, but did you see the Elton John Joni Mitchell interview? Did you catch any of that?
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah, I gotta catch up on that.
Yeah, me too.
The 10th and final one, what is your favorite Jawn of all time? It can be anything you want it to be.
I mean, this is pretty, might sound, I'm just going to go with the first thought that came to my mind. Because, but I'll just say Life. You know what I mean? Like what a great, wonderful, weird, fun thing this is that we are doing.
I love it. Yeah. That's perfect. So, moving forward, you got the solo album in April. Any other projects you're working on with anybody else? Or?
Not at the moment. I'm just home for a little break from touring and looking forward to getting back at it with the drugs in the new year. And lots of fun kind of setup and stuff for my record, and then just keeping on going with the flow, and just kind of staying open to things.
Yeah, I know you said you kind of avoid the socials and all, but so when the album comes out, are there socials set up where people can track down your stuff?
I mean, I'm going to have to do something. I mean, I still have my Instagram account. I just haven't opened it in 4 years, but yeah, I know I got to do something. I'll figure it out. I can't believe that now would be the time I'm be like, hey, I'm going to get on Twitter. Hey guys, have you heard about Twitter? So cool. Wow, this is so great. That would be mental.
Grand opening, grand closing. Yeah.
I'll be the last in, last out. I don't know.
It's awesome.
I'll figure something out. I'll get it.
That's cool. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for taking this time today, and thank you not just for talking to me, but also everything you do and everything you create. And like I said, this Christmas album is absolutely stellar. So you deserve all the props in the world for your part you played in that. Anything you would like to leave these folks with? Any thoughts?
Well, any thoughts? I feel like I've been running my mouth for an hour.
My thanks again to Charlie for joining me on the show today. A Philly Special Christmas will be available streaming on December 23rd. Visit phillyspecialchristmas.com and at A Philly Special Christmas on Instagram for more info. You can find the mini documentary on the making of the album on YouTube, and be on the lookout for Charlie's solo album coming this spring. His band, The War on Drugs, will be performing December 19th, 20th, and 21st at Johnny Brenda's for their A Drugcember to Remember event benefiting the School District of Philadelphia. Tickets for that are sold out. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from. And if you're still trying to commit one last deed to get yourself onto Santa's nice list, it is never too late to earn a super awesome Jawn Scout merit badge for citizenship of the world just by rating and reviewing us. That should do the trick. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com for articles, merchandise, and links to all of the previous episodes of this podcast. And while you are there, be sure to sign up for the mailing list to get all of the updates delivered straight to your inbox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YoThat'sMyJawn for updates and live streams. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Yo That's My Jawn, and search Yo That's My Jawn on YouTube to find the Yo That's My Jawn YouTube channel. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Happy holidays, folks. This may be the last episode of the year. There's a slight possibility I drop a recap episode next week, but let's be honest, it's doubtful. You can always join me, though, for my annual Ukulele Christmas Sing-Along on Facebook this week if you're so inclined. We're looking to do it this coming Friday, so check the social media channels for times. But that's all I got for you now. Blue skies. Until next time, everybody.
Hey yo, displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure. Your taste in music doesn't have to be.
Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Theme song by Phil Tyler Music featuring Nate 3.0. Special thanks to Fox Run Brands, DX Ferris, Andrew Scott, Natalie Runkle, and the incredibly brilliant and wickedly stunning Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to hear on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. Or you can leave an audio message for us and possibly hear yourself on a future episode by visiting anchor.fm/ytmj/message. Until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.